It's a Tuesday in early November, and you're trying to fit democracy into the cracks of your day. Maybe you go before work, coffee in hand, hoping the line is short. Maybe you go after, in the dark, after the commute and before dinner needs making. And here's the strange thing. Nobody arranges their life around Election Day. They squeeze it in around the job, the school run, the everything else on a workday in November as if it could never have been any other way. But have you ever stopped to wonder, why a Tuesday? Why November? And who decided the entire country should crowd into one specific weekday to do this? If you've ever wondered how casting a vote became a thing you schedule between meetings, you're about to find a small piece of history hiding inside an ordinary afternoon, and it goes a lot deeper than tradition. To understand your Tuesday, we have to go back to a time before there was one, because for the first half century of the country, voting wasn't a day at all, it was a season. Here's what most people never learn. The date isn't in the Constitution, and it isn't from the founders. It arrived in 1845, more than 50 years after the first presidential election, to fix a genuine mess. Before that, each state picked its own moment to vote, anywhere inside a roughly 34-day window that ended in early December when the electors met. The electors, that's the slate of people who formally cast a state's votes for president. Picture 1840s America. Most people farmed. Roads were dirt, travel was measured in days, and reaching the county seat to vote could mean an overnight journey by wagon or on horseback. The calendar wasn't built around democracy. Democracy was squeezed into the calendar of the harvest. And that scattered system had a sharp edge nobody liked. When some states voted weeks before others, their results hit the papers first, and those early numbers swayed the states still waiting. If that worry sounds familiar, it should. It's the same anxiety we have today about exit polls nudging late voters. Lawmakers in the 1840s were staring at the very same problem, just by stagecoach and newspaper instead of by phone. So Congress decided to fix one national day. And the logic behind that day is a little time capsule of who Americans were. November, because the harvest was in, but the brutal winter roads hadn't arrived yet. Not spring, which was planting, not late summer, which was reaping. November was the breathing room. And Tuesday, because of church. Most people kept Sunday for worship and wouldn't travel on it, and many needed a full day on the road to reach the polls. Leave Monday, vote Tuesday. It also dodged Wednesday, which in a lot of farm towns was market day. Every piece of that date solves a problem almost nobody alive today still has. Which brings us to the strangest piece of the whole thing, that clumsy phrase. Not the first Tuesday, it's the Tuesday after the first Monday. Read it out loud and it sounds like pure bureaucratic mumbling. It isn't. That wording exists to keep Election Day from ever landing on November 1st, because the 1st of November is All Saints' Day, a major holy day on the Catholic calendar, and Congress didn't want the vote colliding with it. One commonly repeated story adds that merchants closed out their monthly books on the 1st, and a bad financial month might sour the mood at the polls. So the most awkward sentence in American civics is actually a tiny piece of precision engineering. And this is where it's worth gently correcting two things you've probably absorbed without noticing. The first is that this is somehow ancient, baked in from the beginning. It isn't. It's an ordinary law from 1845. The second is that it was all about helping farmers. The convenience was real, but it shared the stage with that worry about early results tipping the scale. The plain answer is true. It's the why underneath that surprises people. For a while, this Tuesday only governed the presidential vote. Then in 1872, Congress pulled House elections onto the same day. Before that, House races had straggled across the calendar. One stretch ran from June clear into the following April. The Senate stayed apart even longer, with senators chosen by state legislatures until 1913. And then the date simply stayed. One line written for a country of a few million farmers now sets the day for well over 150 million voters, more than a century and a half later, without a single soul reconsidering it. Which raises the obvious question, does everyone vote on a workday like this? Mostly no. Plenty of democracies hold elections on a weekend. Sunday is common across much of Latin America and Europe, and Australia votes on a Saturday. The weekday vote, the thing you're rearranging your whole day around, turns out to be a bit of an American peculiarity. And here's the part most people want to know. If the farmers are gone, why keep it? Partly because changing it would take an act of Congress, and partly because every state has built its machinery around that day. Reformers keep proposing a weekend vote or a national holiday, and it keeps not happening. Instead, we quietly routed around the problem. Early voting, mail ballots, weeks of options before the Tuesday arrives. We didn't move the appointment, we just stopped requiring everyone to show up for it. Because that's really what your Tuesday is. A calendar built for horses, still running long after the horses are gone. A date shaped by harvest seasons and Sabbath travel and muddy roads, none of which touch your life at all. So the next time you're squeezing your vote in before work on a cold November Tuesday, you're not just doing your civic duty. You're keeping a 180-year-old appointment set by people whose reasons have completely dissolved beneath you. The harvest, the church day, the long ride to town, and an old worry about who voted first. Thank you for watching. If you have ideas for our next video, drop them in the comments below. And while you're there, cast your vote. Keep the Farmer's Tuesday or move it to a weekend. We're counting ballots down there. Thanks for joining us for another piece of Heirloom History. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back next time for another piece of history you've been living in without noticing.